show. And as always, we are so happy to have you here. How many of you were here yesterday or Thursday? So hopefully you guys don't mind, but I do want to start my opening remarks with kind of what I was going over the past 2 days. For those of you that are new, this will be new for those of you that have been in here. You've heard it before, but I think it still applies. Just want to say thank you all for being here. You are the reason why Comic-Con is what it is. It started with just 300 people back in the day, and as you can see, it's definitely grown. And one of the things that is great about you as fans is that you made this stuff cool. It is no longer kind of a fringe thing. This is what people love, and you guys have been the shepherds of that and making people understand how cool the things that we love with movies and television and comics and gaming really is. So a big round of applause to you guys for doing that. That's what it is. And we hope that Comic-Con will also be a part of that for you, and that we will continue to spearhead and bring these types of things to you, so we can continue to just embrace and enjoy everything we love. So welcome home. Thanks for being here. All right. For a Saturday crowd, you're a little sedate, but I think I can figure out a way to bring you out. What a glorious time if you are a Star Trek fan. Not just one, not just two, but we're going to have 3 series of Star Trek at the same time. That is just amazing. So, as always, I'll make the comment that please be aware, any footage that's shown on the screen, please don't record it. Obviously, the studios take a lot of time to cut these things and make these special for you. You guys, clearly, I'm sure a lot of you have waited overnight to be in here, and this is really done especially for you. If you want to brag about how you got to see it first, feel free to do that. But please don't post it, because we want to make sure that all the studios continue to bring these types of things, because I know I enjoy them, and I'm sure all of you do too. So again, I'm excited. We're about to see a whole new universe of Star Trek. And with that, it is my pleasure to bring out, well actually, one more time, because I'm sure some of the people who are about to come out on stage might like to know. Let's let them know how many people here are excited to see them come on. Come on. So with that, I will bring out the moderator, as he is referred to as the Galactic Overlord, Mr. Jeff Boucher.
How's it going? 50 years ago today, Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon. Also, I stepped in the mankind, a moment of boldness, a moment of exploration, and a moment of discovery. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring out Star Trek Discovery. We're going to introduce our panelists, Michelle Paradise, Heather Kadin, Alex Kurtzman, Sonequa Martin-Green, and David Ajala.
Nope, not the whole cast this time.
There you go. Star Trek Discovery, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well.
Hey, all age!
This is fantastic. This is the best place. So let's just jump right into it. Season 3, what can you tell us? What are you guys working on?
It's the 3rd season.
It's the 3rd, so this comes after the 2nd season. Okay. That's it, right? That's all you can tell us?
Well, obviously we made a pretty radical jump into the future at the end of season 2. We're going almost 1,000 years into the future in season 3, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Further than any Trek series has ever gone before. And, you know, I think the thing that people are asking lots of questions about, like, okay, what's the world going to be in the future, and are you going to go dark, and I understand all those questions. And the thing that I think I would want to lead with is to say that every conversation about how we create Star Trek is filtered through Roddenberry's essential vision of optimism, which can never really change because it is the spirit and the soul of Trek for all of us. And so
It is more important than ever.
it is more important than ever. And so there will be lots and lots of huge changes in season 3. There will be things you recognize, there will be things you don't recognize. Part of the fun of it is that we get to honor canon, but shake it up hugely. We're not erasing anything, so please don't worry about that. It's all still what it was. But we do get to shake it up quite a bit. And I think the fun of how we get to a place of preserving that essential optimism is by testing it. And each of these shows, in many ways, do that in different ways. And so I just want to assure you all, first and foremost, that it's still Star Trek, and it will always be Star Trek the way Roddenberry wanted it.
Sonequa, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How y'all doing? And I hope you're doing good
I'm
too.
living the dream. Aren't you?
Yeah, ain't we all?
It's like real life, but better.
What'd you say?
It's like real life, but better.
Exactly. There it is.
So there's a gentleman sitting next to you. Tell us a little bit about, hey, how you doing?
Hey guys.
This is Dave.
I like the way my voice sounds in this microphone.
Exactly.
Pretty
Reverberate.
cool. It is, right? Cool vibrations. Greetings, guys. Lovely to meet you all, and it's an absolute pleasure to be part of this wonderful franchise.
All the cast are beasts, right? And I mean, literally every cast member, and so is he. Very, very happy you're here.
And
Yeah.
David, you're playing a character named Book.
That's right.
And I like him because he's got like a mischievous side to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what Alex was saying, just in terms of, sticking to the canon, but then also freshening things up a little. And Book is going to be a character that's going to break the rules just a little bit. It's always fun to be able to break the rules, and we do that right from the start of the season.
There it is.
And then we don't have footage of you guys, but we have a photo, right?
Yeah. Y'all want to see what we was up to? And now, as you can see, we are not in Terra Elysium, so I'm going to tease you guys a little bit. We do not land there like we planned. We were able to shoot in Iceland, which was fantastic.
Amazing.
Such a blessing. It was incredible and breathtaking. And I feel like this venture into the future is so powerful because we, as a company and also as a crew on Discovery, we became a family at the end of season 2, and now are forging this path that has never been forged before, boldly, I might add. And we sort of want to remember everybody who's not going to be here anymore with us. So shout out to all of those who made marks that'll never be erased.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the future.
Yeah,
Future.
You were talking about the sort of the esprit de corps of the ensemble, and I
Yeah.
was talking to Jonathan Frakes, and he was with you guys, and he said that it reminded him of the Next Generation.
He did, which was such a blessing to us for him to say that, because we really are. And we talk about it all the time, but it's because it's real and it's true. And, there are so many people who were, some of my favorite scene partners of all time that are no longer going to be with us. So we love them and we, forge ahead in their honor.
Yeah. And, one of the great things about the show is the cinematic scale. I mean, it looks fantastic. I mean, the show, it's amazing what you guys pull off. I'm sure it's very easy. It doesn't take any time. But talk a little bit about that ambition. I mean, it's almost a middle ground between TV and film at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we try every single episode to make it a mini movie, and so everyone concentrates on that across the board, from the writing itself to the conceiving of stories to the way it's shot to the way it's edited. Just every team, our VFX team, everyone is just on board with all of that, and it's just incredible what we're able to do.
It's kind of a sweet spot because you get to have the character development of a television series, but you have the sort of the impact and visual spectacle of a film.
Well, what's amazing is all of our teams, our prosthetic team, our amazing visual effects, Jason Zimmerman, who just got nominated for an Emmy, and our prosthetics team got nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah.
But all of these people are huge fans. So James McKinnon, who does a lot of prosthetics for us over, now he's on Picard, but he was on the first 2 seasons of Discovery. Every day was just living the dream, literally, of, oh my God, I was sitting here being a huge Star Trek fan, and now I get to bring my AAA+ game to the show, and I think it helps us rise to the occasion of having it look as cinematic as possible.
Yeah. And then, you know, one of the best things, or one of the great things, the Short Trek series. You guys like the Short Treks? Really, really cool. Are we going to see any more of those, or are you guys done with it?
So the Short Treks that we did last season, it was an interesting experiment because we knew we weren't going to be able to drop Discovery right away, and we wanted to buy ourselves the time to get the season right, particularly because the visual effects take so long. I mean, you have to figure it takes about 8 months to really render those visual effects the way that you end up seeing them. So we built these Short Treks, which was like a really interesting experiment in that we got to tell stories that you otherwise wouldn't always get to tell in the main body of a story, and focus on elements about characters that you wouldn't necessarily get to see, you know, in an episode. And they were these kind of wonderful little meals, but then the reveal was that some of them connected to the storytelling in season 3. Season 2, they seemed like they were independent, but they really weren't. So we're going to do that again, and we're going to do 6 of them. Do you guys want to see a little bit of what we're going to do? All right, we'll show you a little trailer.
Is that even allowed?
It is allowed on Short Treks, yeah.
Doesn't that violate the Prime Directive on some level?
Well, it sort of does. So yeah, there's. Okay, so some of the Short Treks will involve Spock, number 1, and Pike, as you saw. There will be 3 news stories. 2 of them are animated, and they won't be in the style of either of our new animated shows. They're actually quite different. One will be directed by Michael Giacchino, who scored the Trek movies, and he's done a phenomenal job. The other will be directed by Olatunde, who's one of our main director on Discovery. Totally different style. And the last one will be a Picard teaser, and it will give you a sense of some background that happened to Jean-Luc 15 years before we entered into the series. So everything connects, and yet there are very fun standalone stories. As you can see from this trailer, Spock and number 1 stuck in an elevator is going to be quite interesting. And it was also written by Michael Chabon, who did Calypso and is our Picard showrunner.
Pulitzer Prize winner.
Pulitzer Prize winner.
Yeah, one of the great writers. Speaking of Short Treks,
Yeah.
we should.
Yeah. Well, we do have some guests. Maybe we thought you might want to bring out. Should we bring them out?
I think we should.
Yeah.
We should.
Rebecca Romijn and Ethan Peck.
Yeah.
So Ensign Mountain really wanted to come, guys, but he's got a wedding this weekend, so he sends you all his love. But he really wanted to be here too.
The guy who plays Mike.
How's it going? Welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well.
Hey, Hall H.
How great is it that we got stuck in an elevator this morning?
Wasn't that funny? All together.
We did. The elevator kept
We're
going
all
up and down.
I missed that whole experience.
Up and down, and up and down, up and down. And it was like a trailer for the trailer.
Really weird. Yeah, it was a weird moment for us.
So, Ethan, I was going to ask you, it's very good to see you.
Likewise.
You know, one of the things, if I could, real quick, is that, I mean, with the heritage of your family, this must be so satisfying for you to have this amazing moment in your career. As I'm sure everybody knows, your grandfather was Gregory Peck.
Yeah.
Atticus Finch, voted the greatest hero in history of film by the American Film Institute. What's that like for you? I mean, that must be a nice...
Man, it's just like layer upon layer of surreality. It's so insane. Just like rarefied life experience. I like living the dream.
It's fantastic. And Rebecca, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Very, very happy to be here. Thrilled to be a part of this universe, to be a part of the Star Trek family. It's pinch me moment after pinch me moment. I mean, walking onto the Enterprise set for the first time.
Enterprise set.
It was mind-blowing, really.
And, you know, there's nothing quite like Starfleet. I mean, it really is a special thing.
It really is.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Anything else you guys want to tell us about season 3? I mean, I know there's snipers if we say too much.
You're gonna love David.
Yes. So David plays, as he said, Book. His full name is Cleveland Booker, and he will be a character who isn't exactly what you expect right away. When they get to the other side of the wormhole, they have big problems. In fact, even getting to find each other may be really difficult, because they may not have actually landed in the same place.
Well, they landed in Iceland.
But they are in Iceland, yes.
Right,
They
and
were
in
there.
Iceland. I feel like also just in terms of discovery, there's just so much more of that. We go to the deepest level of discovery in season 3 because we're in this new place together, and we have to figure out everything about where we are and who we are now, you know? And so I really love that from a character perspective, that everybody is really unfolding in these really sort of impelling and compelling ways. It's exciting.
And it's true, it really applies to all the characters of Discovery.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think what Burnham carries with her, which is fascinating, is this kind of tremendous sense of responsibility of taking care of everybody. And obviously, that extends to the idea that she felt that she had to lead her ship through time in order to save all sentient life. That's a really big burden to bear. That's a lot. And, to explore for her character what that means, and, at what point is it too much? So at what point is it too much to carry? So she goes through a lot of changes, as do all the characters in many different ways. And obviously, we left unresolved at the end of last season who the captain of Discovery was going to be. And the captain will be somebody you'll find out about when you watch season 3.
Oh man, I thought you were going to say it this time. As someone watching from the outside, it seems like the show, it just really hit a rhythm in season 2. And the finale, and all the things that were going on. At the end of it, there was a lot of excitement as a viewer, and I'm just wondering if you guys feel the same, like as far as like the energy, do you feel like you really kicked into extra gear?
1,000%. We're very grateful for everybody that has been a part of the company from the very beginning, and I've said it before, we hit the ground running, and I feel like we took flight, and it really feels that way for all of us. There's this sense of brewing, sort of like fire and passion and heart, and we're really excited about the next stage and the next path that we're forging. And that goes for everyone. It goes for the entire universe that is expanding, It's like everybody's buzzing.
Yeah.
I think what's been great too is in the second season more than the first, we were able to lean into, I think, the tone of what a lot of people expect out of Star Trek, which is having a lot more fun and adventure with the drama. And I think obviously this season is inherent to being dramatic because our whole crew left their entire family behind and basically chose the family that they are now with. And so there's inherent drama in that, but there's also, there is going to be fun and humor, and you're still going to have the characters you love. And the only reason they aren't here is because we're shooting in Toronto. But I think it's, when you're staying at your stride, I think it had a lot to do with threading that needle of the tone.
Yeah, and look, we can't overstate how critical to the overall tone Captain Pike #1 and Spock were last season. They were everything, and all things being equal, we would have brought them with us, but that would have broken canon in ways that you would have been throwing tomatoes at us today, and that would be bad.
Well, it wouldn't be tomatoes. It would
it wouldn't be tomatoes. So we were very excited about doing the short treks, and there's obviously been a lot of speculation about whether Pike and #1 and Spock would get their own show. So I guess my question to you guys is, do you want them to get their own show? Okay, we'll think about it.
Good idea. I think speaking of the cinematic quality that you were talking about and us taking it to the next level, because we always are, there's also this magic too that we keep taking to the next level. And this man is magic. And this woman is magic. This man is magic as well. And so is everyone else. This man, this woman, and this woman. And everybody else. And so I think that, in addition to just the cinematic part, being aesthetically brilliant, there's also this magic of being connected to canon like we never were before in season 2, and then expanding like we are, and then going to a future that we've never seen before in season 3.
And the family element, I mean, really, if you look at Gene Roddenberry's vision, I mean, the thing that made Star Trek so unique isn't necessarily the planets they went to or the aliens they met or the threats they dealt with. It was the unified family of that crew and the dynamic of it. and the fact that that's such an emphasis for you, that bodes very well for the series.
It is, and it's, the great thing about the third season of the television show is that, season 1 was about these people kind of coming together and figuring out who they were as a family. Season 2 was about really solidifying them, but then, as Sonequa said, they choose each other for eternity, and they leave their birth families behind. And Star Trek has always been a show about a bridge crew family, and I love that this season we get to start mixing and matching relationships between different characters, people who you've met but actually only gotten to know peripherally are going to take center stage in a different kind of a way. There's going to be a ton of new characters. There's going to be a whole exploration of what the world looks like 1,000 years from now. From a, when you ask about the cinema of it, boy, we have our work cut out for us in terms of the design teams have been busy at work because we're building a future that is complicated. And the thing that I think defines Trek is that it always pays attention to the small character moments in the middle of all of the big. It's always about the little, it's always about the humans and the human interaction and the interspecial interaction, and that has to be the focus of the show. So what we didn't want was, now there's a lot of eye candy with big floating cities all over the place and all the cliches that you've seen a million times. So yes, you will have a lot of eye candy, but our focus is always on what does it mean and what does it do for the characters. And hopefully that's why you feel good about the way that it looks and the way it feels. And yes, there's a tremendous army of artists who are working daily and tirelessly to make it look like a movie, which is really what we're trying to do every week.
And just to
Yeah,
add to that, go ahead. That's awesome. The other thing, just about going to the future, you were talking earlier about how it's a little bit tricky, or it might be a little bit tricky in the future. And the thing that the original Star Trek did so beautifully was focus on the family. And I think the family of this crew of Starfleet of the Federation is, this season gives us the opportunity to hone in on that even more in a way that we're all super excited about.
Is there a Horta? Because
What's with you and the Horta?
I love the Horta.
You love it, and you're always asking about the Horta.
I want to play the Horta.
Okay.
It's weird, we're casting for that right now.
I know, yeah.
I have everything it takes. Nothing. Well, I can't believe it's time. But
Is it? What, really?
yes, we have to let the next Star Trek
Oh, wow, okay.
crew come out here.
God is
So,
good.
gentlemen, though, can you give it up for Discovery? Thank you very much, Holly.
Thank you. Shout out to my husband, Cameron, who's also my dad. That's cool.
What the? That was weird.
I feel very naked and alone up here right now.
Here comes
Oh, hey, look! It's Jerry O'Connell!
We're going sliders.
All H!
We're going sliders, man.
I've been here before, but never on this side, only with you guys, so this is,
Lower decks.
this is incredible. We're going to be talking about a little show today called Star Trek Lower Decks. Just you wait. Let's introduce our panelists while we get our placards out here. Woo, what an honor. Arguably the most exciting day in Star Trek history. You can argue me online about that. Arguably one of the most exciting days. Let's introduce our panelists, ladies and gentlemen, the celestial queen of everything Trek today, Heather Kadin. Alex Kurtzman. My boss, you've heard this guy, Mike McMahan. Get him out here. It's called Rick and Morty, everybody. Maybe you've heard of it. Let me also introduce one of my cast members here. We're going to get the placards out in a second. Tawny Newsome. Get out here. And there she is. And also fellow cast member Jack Quaid. There he is. We are excited to show you this stuff. Heather,
Jerry.
godmother of all things Trek today.
I've known you too long.
Tell
tell us about Lower Decks. How did this all happen?
Well, a lot of us are huge fans in our office of Rick and Morty, and
Wait for applause!
Rick and Morty, which I think I was introduced. Both of us maybe were introduced to by our children. Don't judge. And yeah, and our colleague Aaron Byers, who is here in the audience, he's amazing. He said, well, you have to meet the guy who runs Rick and Morty, Mike McMahan, because he is this massive Star Trek fan. And he's such a massive Star Trek fan that after TNG went off the air and he was so sad about it, he started tweeting fake log lines to a fake season 8 of TNG that didn't exist. And Simon & Schuster thought it was so amazing that they then said, hey, why don't you turn your tweets into a book? So actually, you can buy this book. So now I'm plugging the book, which was not my intention. I'm plugging Mike McMahan's book. So Mike McMahan came in and said, I don't know if you guys would ever be interested in doing the kind of Star Trek I want to do. I'm like a lifelong Star Trek fan, but I'm curious to do a show about what happens on the lower decks of a ship. And we were like, yes, we were blown away. So that's how this came about.
So what you're saying is it's sort of the Downton Abbey of Star Trek.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Michael, tell us what is Lower Decks about?
Guys, I cannot believe I am here at all in Star Trek and in Hall Age and getting in to share this stuff. There it is. And even though this is amazing, the true dream is getting to be a part of Trek and this thing that I love. So we only have a little bit of time, and I'm going to try to tell you as much about it as we can. So Lower Decks is a half-hour animated show. So it feels like it's about the same length as like a Simpsons episode. And it focuses on 4 ensigns who are serving on a not important ship in Starfleet. And they have stories they're stories that I think feel very Starfleet. They're stories about working on a ship, who you're working with. There's social, emotional stories mixed in with sci-fi stories, because every Star Trek is kind of about a family, and our show is also about a family. It's just not the same family you've seen before. There's a lot of familiar Star Trek in it, and it was really important to me that even though we're a comedy, the comedy does not come from punching down on Trek or making fun of tropes. It feels like every episode is a real Star Trek episode, but we're focusing on people in the ship who are funny and that you will love. So it's been an absolute joy to work on. It takes place in 2380, so it's right after Nemesis, Voyager's back. It's kind of I'm a TNG guy, I really wanted to do it like that, so we're gonna show you some stuff, and we're gonna tell you about some characters right now. And we have placards.
Let's move to one of our cast members, Tawny.
Hello.
Everybody, this is Tawny. Tell us about your character, Mariner.
Yeah, so I am Ensign Mariner, and she's like what I think I am in my head all the time. Like, she's always like very irreverent and like a badass and doesn't ever follow the rules. Meanwhile, I'm like a speed limit driving, just total wimp. But she's very good at all things, you know, Starfleet. She just doesn't care. Like, she's been demoted a ton of times. She should be way further in the ranks than she is. She's just kind of like, you know, a weirdo rock and roll party queen who just wants to ride her skateboard and eat her piece of pizza in peace, man.
Jack. Everybody say hi to Jack down there. He's coming. Hello. Jack, tell us about your character.
I play Ensign Boimler, and that expression says it all. He's basically the opposite of Mariner. He's very by the book. He really wants to be a captain. He's very book smart, but he's just constantly getting in his own way. He gets very in his head. I always say, like, he would nail the written portion of the driving test, like flying colors, but once it got to him actually being in the car, it would just be a complete and total disaster. So yeah, these two characters, they clash.
Yeah,
but they're friends.
What do we call him? We call him like Pearl Clutchy.
Yes, we call Boimler's very Pearl.
Boimler's always scandalized by something like real nuts that Mariner's doing.
Real, with a skateboard and pizza.
Always the skateboard.
Yeah, in the booth it's a lot of me physically clutching imaginary pearls.
It's weird that you wear them to our recording sessions.
It's nuts. I can't do VO without a good set of pearls.
That's my grandmother always said.
Yeah. I know.
Michael, tell us about some other Lower Decks characters. We got Tendi.
Yeah, so Boimler and Mariner are often given the same jobs and go about it in totally different ways. They're working with Ensign Tendi, played by Noelle Wells, who it's her first day on the ship in the pilot, and so we're getting to explore this kind of like new niche of the Star Trek world through her eyes. And she was a huge Starfleet fan, and even all through the Academy before she even got on the ship. So being on the ship every day just blows her mind. And there's no job, even she's in medical and she works in the medical bay, and there's no gross alien illness that she's not just absolutely thrilled to be dealing with. She's kind of like, if I get to be on a Trek ship, then I'd be like, yeah, whatever, I'll deal with anything, just I want to be here. Like, that's what Tendi's like. And she's also hilarious and just like a source of joy. And then we have Ensign Rutherford, who I think you'll see in a second, who's played by Eugene Cordero, who's brilliant and funny and the sweetest guy in the world. And he is our engineer. And like Geordi LaForge, he's like amazing at engineering stuff, but unlike Geordi LaForge, he does not solve the problems by the end of every episode. Because he's learning, you know? Sometimes science is about learning stuff while you go and making mistakes. He's got this cyborg implant on his head that he just got, and it's kind of like when you get a new phone and you're like, wait, they got rid of the button, do I swipe now? That's him, but with like how he thinks. Because he's like an he's like a TNG early adopter, which is like a hard place to be. So those four are the ones that are kind of like, that's our family. That's our Star Trek family that we're experiencing this world in. And we're really excited to get to share it with you guys.
Aww. Boimler's so mad.
There we go. That's a group shot right there.
It's a great group shot.
Let me ask Alex and Heather, what inspired you to jump into the animated world?
You know, obviously the original animated series is a huge fan favorite, and as we look to expanding the world of Trek, and you see that animation is at this incredible renaissance right now. It's a renaissance in terms of some of the best stories that are being told in the animation space. You know, between Spider-Verse and Rick and Morty, you've got such an incredible, wow.
Spider-Verse?
That's such an incredible moment. And the thing that's so fun for us is that we get to experiment with different animation styles and different tones. And you know, I think in some ways people have perceived that Trek is limited in what it can be. And our thesis is that it has to be what it has always been to everybody, but can also be more. It can expand. So it has to be a show for the fans first and foremost, but we want to bring in so many other people, and part of that is getting them younger, because there really has never been an initiative to get to kids when they were younger. And Trek is an amazing thing that teaches you how to be a better person in the world, and that has incredible values, and that talks about the importance of diversity and the importance of caring about other people, and all of these really, really, really essential things that people should be hearing about and knowing about early in their lives, so that we can make the world a better place. So,
Preach, Alex! Yeah!
So you take that, and then you add Mike McMahan, and you got something really weird, which is great.
I know, I'm hearing this and I'm like, ooh, the scripts we've been writing, I'm not sure how young the viewers can be. It's approaching Rick and Morty age range, if not Rick and Morty burping and swearing.
Well, in fairness, the idea when we first said we wanted to do animation was to really do something we are also doing, is a Nickelodeon Star Trek animation. And then in walked Mike McMahan with an idea I think that was totally unexpected, and again, even by all of your reaction to the idea, it was something we looked at each other and we said, we have to do this. Yeah. It's so great. So I think being able to bridge the gap between comedy and adult and Star Trek and animated has been a blast, and we think all of you will love them and love the show.
And animation helps you do, like, for me in TNG, I was there for the B stories. Like, I love, like, okay, you know, Riker's trapped on a planet with his transporter clone, great, I love that. But Data and Geordi are writing a play and they're getting in a fight about it. That's what I love that stuff. And to write a show that's primarily kind of social stories on the ship that also has sci-fi happening and a comedy at the same time, animation helps it bridge from the first frame that it's like, oh, this is what I love when it's focusing and heightening a thing that I always kind of knew was there, but wasn't always the main thing in the show.
I mean, I think part of what Mike is saying, and I guess it's the answer to your question, is like each of these shows has to be a love letter to Star Trek in its own way, right? Each one has to be different and it has to be special, and you can just hear from the way Mike is talking about it, and we knew it the second he came in and pitched the show, which I think I've said before, but he came in and he was like, all right, so you guys probably don't want to do this, but I want to do a show about the people who bring the yellow cartridge to the replicator so the banana can come out the other side. And he's like, and then I said, stop, we have to get you an office. Right now.
It's always good to start a pitch by saying, all right, you guys are going to hate this.
Well, it actually raises a good question. Who are you trying to reach with Lower Decks? What?
I think anybody who loves Star Trek and wants to explore more of it and find new characters to love and see new, standalone episodes with sci-fi heightened dramatic elements, but then also like characters that care about each other and learn and grow and change and investigate other things in this world that we love.
But also I think people who haven't had an entry point yet into Star Trek, if you're a fan of The Simpsons, you're a fan of Family Guy, you're a fan of Rick and Morty, you're just a fan of comedy in general, I think this should be your show and your way into Star Trek that hopefully then makes you interested to see more shows in the universe.
I know, it's funny because it's funny enough and it's clear enough that if you've never seen Star Trek before, this could be your first Star Trek, and then be like, I guess there's some live-action Star Trek too.
Right.
But if you love Star Trek, it's in a shared universe, so there are jokes and jokes that only you guys will get.
Right.
About like Odo's bucket, like you don't
Odo's bucket!
Yeah, but like you don't need to know Odo and his bucket for you to believe the characters in the show know about it.
Yeah, I love every now and then I'll come across, I'm a fan, but I'm not, the most educated fan, obviously. So I'll read things and I'll be like, I think I remember this, but like we have to stop a recording session so Mike can be like, okay, so this one episode in TNG season 5, and he like gives me the whole lowdown of it. I love those types of things.
I know, the show is a mix of people who are steadfast, have seen every episode of every series a million times, and then people who are coming into it new and we're all watching it together, and it's that shared experience and like, making new fans while we're making it, it's awesome.
Let's talk about the bridge crew.
Yeah.
Come on, where's all at on the bridge?
Yeah, so it was important to me that our ship felt like it was a real operating ship in Starfleet, and that there were characters on the ship, senior officers, who consider it to be their show, even though it's not. They don't know that. So we have a fully fleshed out bridge crew that we can show you here. So we've got Lieutenant Shax, played by Fred Tasker on the side, a big muscly Bajoran who wants to eject the warp core all the time. We've got Don Lewis as Captain Freeman in the middle there, just like a stoic, ethically bound, awesome, classic, Starfleet captain. And then we've got Commander Jack Ramson over there, sort of a hunky guy.
Yes!
Played by this goofball.
Jerry O'Connell. He was about to say Jason Bateman. That happens all the time. Jerry O'Connell.
And he's kind of like Riker if you gave Riker like a little bit of speed and a little less shame.
Thank you.
It's like a California Riker. And then Gillian Vigman plays Dr. Tana, who is Acacian. There's a lot of references to the original animated series, which I love as well. We reuse a lot of types of aliens that only existed in that show, plus across all of Star Trek. But Dr. Ta'ana is our head of medical and is really, really bad at talking to people, but really good at solving sci-fi space mysteries. So,
and she has no tail.
She has no tail, and Heather is so bothered by that. She's like, where did it go?
But I love that the original Cation was this like sexy feline. This is an alley cat that just got into a fight.
Yeah, exactly. We like taking things from the original animated series that feel like it's a reference, but then we're doing our own thing that feels right in this show. So no purring, sexy Cation guys, not yet. I'm sorry. But I don't know. Maybe Dr. Tana has like a super inappropriate cousin. Yeah.
Right.
Anything you want to talk about the recording sessions and how much fun they are. I mean, I can say for me, I don't think professionally I've had as much fun as being in a recording session with Michael McMahan.
We have a lot of fun.
It's, I mean, and I just know that all of you are going to have as much fun watching it. I mean, is it as much fun for you guys when you're in there?
Yes, it's insane.
It's so great.
It's so great. It's so great. We love it.
I love it so much.
We love doing it together too. Like occasionally Jack and I will get to record together, which is just so ridiculous because I don't think we say most of the words that you wrote on your fine script. So allow us to apologize for that,
That's
sir.
okay.
What we tend to do is just like riff and play off of each other and find things, and who knows what you'll use. But the freedom to be able to do that is just, I mean, as an actor and improviser, that's such an amazing gift to be like trusted with it. So it just makes it even more fun.
My favorite parts of our riffs are the last 10 seconds where we're like, there's no way this is getting in the show.
Yeah, where we should have stopped 15 seconds ago.
But someone was like, keep them going.
Yeah.
Let's see where this goes.
Michael, anything else you want to share with all the fans here in Hall?
Okay. In Hall.
I'm here! I can't believe it! I was right back there last year. Anything else you'd like to share with Hall?
So you guys all know that one of the most important characters on one of these shows is the ship. And we have a brand new ship design and class. It's called the California class of ships. And the ships, this is your preview of it. This is all we're showing you. What do you think, Jack and Tawny? Was that cool?
I think it's amazing.
I mean, that was the greatest drawing of white squares and yellow lines I've ever seen.
Look at this, baby! We got a holodeck on the ship. This holodeck breaks all the time. It never works right. No, we're not going to show you the design of the ship today, but I wanted to tell you that it's a California class. We have a whole class of ship that operates at the same time as the larger classes of ship, but that they do kind of like support work. So we're going to be exploring that, and the show takes place on a ship named the Cerritos.
The Cerritos.
That's Lower Deck.
USS Cerritos, everybody! The USS Cerritos crew, right here! Doing the real work out there! Oh man, that's exciting. Alex, we hear you also have one more announcement to make with all of us in the hall.
Yes, so I've been listening to a lot of your podcasts, and they're great, and I think it's high time that we have an official Star Trek podcast. So we're going to have one starting this year, and this amazing woman to my left is going to be the host of our new Star Trek podcast.
I'm so thrilled. Thank you. As a fan, I'm so excited to have, frankly, the access that you guys have to be able to, who out here hosts a podcast? Every one of you, right? You each have 3. We all do. Some of the hardest stuff is booking and just trying to get people who you think are interesting and cool, and the amazing wealth of cool people that you have that we'll be able to talk to just about general themes in Trek. I think it's important to say it's not going to be like a recap show. It's just going to be general themes, talking with people who are maybe loosely connected to the world, other fellow fans. I'm pumped.
I think the idea is that Trek has been this incredible cultural conversation for 53 years, and it's going strong. And yeah, we'll bring in people who are involved in the shows, and they'll talk about their experiences on the shows. But we also want to bring in people who haven't necessarily been on the shows, but who've been deeply influenced by Star Trek, and talk about its influence on science, and talk about its influence on, on everything in the world. And we're at an incredible moment right now where I think the cultural conversation that Trek has enabled for so long needs to be loud and strong and proud, and that's what this podcast is going to be.
Love it. Hey, listen, let's thank Michael, let's thank Heather, let's thank Alex, let's thank Tawny, let's thank Jack. Star Trek's Lower Decks, CBS All Access 2020. It's my honor to now introduce Dominic Patton, who's going to be coming up with a little show called Picard. Hey, doesn't Lower Decks look great? Wasn't my man Jerry here fantastic? So full timing. Now, one of the things I have to say is Jerry brought
you want to get on board with Captain My Captain, you should maybe start looking out for these yourself. This one, you look great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It is an extra small. I wanted to look super good.
Ow!
I think it's a child size.
Well, the other thing too is, you know, both of us are such huge Trek fans. I have to say, for you gave a nice introduction to a certain little show that we're talking about. And now, but I got to tell you, man, you have always been great, and we really always appreciate it.
Thank you,
my friend. Now, how are you guys doing? Now, homie, come on. We have seen from the amazing Star Trek Discovery, yes? We have seen a little bit of Lower Decks. This is going to be amazing. But we have something here today. Someone, John Luke is in the house. I think for a lot of people, I think this is fair to say, I think for a lot of people, the idea that Sir Patrick Stewart would return to this iconic role of his was, after Nemesis, we never thought it was going to happen. He had this other little thing with mutants and stuff. But it looks like we were wrong. And I'm very glad we were wrong, because I have to say there's a tremendous, Alex has mentioned it, there's 53 years, which it's embarrassingly long in some ways, but awesome in so many others, because we're old enough to know what that means. There's been a lot of Star Trek. I think you can say yes for that. Yes? Yeah. And we know that things like Comic-Con wouldn't happen if there hadn't been Star Trek, and the amazing visions of Gene Roddenberry. And let's give a great applause to a great creator. And over the years, there have been some amazing captains, and they have been on this stage. And everyone, and that's one of the great things about Comic-Con, the fandom allows it. Everyone has a favorite. Everyone has a second favorite. Everyone has a tied favorite. But I have to say, if I have to name my captain, it has to be Jean-Luc Picard. And I think that it is time to start talking about Star Trek Picard. So, Comic-Con, we already have the executive producers here, but let us bring out supervising producer of Star Trek Picard, Kristen Breyer. Executive producer, Eva Goldsmith. Executive producer and showrunner, Michael Chabon. And of course, Alex is here. Let us also bring out Isa Briones, Santiago Cabrera, Michelle Hurd, Allison Beale, Harry Treadway, Evan Azora. And now, I would like to bring out a man who has led some of the greatest armadas in Starfleet history, a man who we have seen a little bit of so far in what seems to be his latter years, and a man who is truly a knight of the realm, truly, ladies and gentlemen, Captain Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, Sir Patrick Stewart. Sir Patrick, it's been too long since you've been here with our fans. We'd love to hear what you have to say about your return.
Thank you. The first thing I feel compelled to say is that we regret the absence of possibly the most important individual in this production. And no, I am not talking about Jonathan Frakes, who was in Charlotte. I think he got Charlotte and San Diego a little bit confused. That's where he is. No, the absence that we all feel is the dog. We wanted to have him here to meet all of you, and he was very, very excited. His name, by the way, is De Niro, and he is a wonderful creature, and I hope that he's going to have an ongoing role to play in this entire series. Now, I woke up this morning, as every morning these days, it begins with script, learning lines. And I read a line in a scene that comes up on Monday where I say, we never know, do we, when our last moment will be. for me, I can twist that a little and say, we never know, do we, when our best moment will be. And that is now.
Oh no, Michael, you better leave the stage and start rewriting it.
Yeah, I'm already getting
a little novels under your belt. Now you know what it's really like, right? Exactly. My first question, and guys, we're going to take questions from you later on, and you better have some damn good ones because you've got some damn good people on the stage. I will only ask you this when we do take questions from you. One question per person, and please direct who your question is for. Thank you very much. And my first question of Comic-Con 2019, the Star Trek extravaganza for Picard, is to Sir Patrick Stewart. Sir Patrick, you took the stage, you and Alex took the stage in Vegas almost a year ago. You shocked everyone by your return, which we all welcomed with open hearts. Why did you decide that now was the time to take on the mantle of Jean-Luc again?
Well, I decided that just over a year ago, and I had been for a long time saying, no, thank you, but no, thank you, but no. And then as the subject matter of this new proposed series became clearer and clearer to me, and when I began to meet our incredibly distinguished writing team and to attend the sessions with them, I knew that something very unusual was going to happen. And I wanted to be a part of it. To imagine that something like this might go ahead and I wouldn't be there would have been just too defeatist. And so here I am. And I'm very, very happy to be here.
And we are happy to have you. I think you guys can applaud a little louder than that. Alex, I wanted to get, and actually this is a question for Kirsten, Heather, and you. Give us a sense of how Picard is different in tone from what we've seen so far in the first 2 seasons of Discovery.
It's entirely different. It all started with Patrick, actually, because when we went to him, as he said, he was reticent for all the right reasons, mostly because he did not want to repeat what he had already done, which he had done perfectly. So why do that again? And we had several conversations with him, and he really challenged us. He challenged us beautifully, and it forced us to think outside the box, and yet it also forced us to say, what is important about the box as it existed for people who love Next Gen? What is it about this great captain that everybody loves so much? And Kirsten and Michael and Akiva and Patrick and James Duff, all of us sat down and we asked lots of questions about what Trek meant to each of us and what Trek meant to Patrick, and from that, these really interesting storylines began to emerge about Picard. And Picard is at a point, for sure, where he is questioning, I would say, many of the choices that he's made, and yet also he's very certain about many of the choices that he's made. And I think it's allowed us to shake the character up in ways that give you new things to play, while also honoring and respecting everything that has already been done so well.
Kirsten, obviously Sir Patrick comes with his legacy of the movies and of Next Generation. What does that bring for you, bringing into the writer's room, having I guess, the source of the source there?
Well, there's the entire universe to sort of take into account when you're building these stories, and understanding how any choice you make is going to ripple out, right? But the great thing about taking this part of Patrick's story forward is by dealing with a different time in his life, and really the life of any starship captain or lead character that we've ever seen before. It's an extraordinary opportunity to see just the most unknown, unexperienced part of his journey at this point. Yeah.
Heather, it looks like you have something to say about that?
Sure. I think having Patrick there from the beginning too, I mean, obviously we all watch the show and we have our opinion of what was happening in the show, but Patrick obviously had lived it from the inside out, and I think for him to bring his perspective into obviously what would Jean-Luc do or not do, or what would he like to see as an evolution of this character, and I know that was invaluable. And also I think not only did he not want to do what he had done on TNG, we and he did not want to do what we've done on Discovery. I think we feel like the world we've painted there is very specific and it's unique to that, and hopefully everyone's going to watch and read Kirsten and Akiva and Michael and Alex is writing and feel this is its whole own, I think more lyrical, more grounded, more dramatic at times piece than that, and I think respect it for its own thing.
Michael, as some of you don't know, Michael is a Pulitzer Prize winning author, I might add. Michael, for you, how has the transition been? Because of course, you're the showrunner of this, which is a highly anticipated show, and CBS All Access, all of us are really waiting for it. How has that been for you? We're just going to talk about therapy, right?
Well, there's been, I mean, I think the answer that comes most immediately to mind is there's been so much writing. And,
well, that's kind of the gig, pal.
Exactly. I don't think I've been writing professionally since I was in my early 20s. I've written a lot of books, but the enterprise, for want of a better term.
Ouch.
Sorry, getting meta, so it's...
Michael, you're getting ready to engage?
Yes, I'm trying to engage. I hope this isn't a core breach about to happen, but just the having to write so much, so frequently, in a way that's so collaborative, that involves so many writers, and not just writers.
There's video.
I get to play somebody who is deeply confused as to her place in the world, who's been dreaming of something happening forever and kind of treading water for a long time waiting for it. And I think the really interesting thing about this cast as a whole is everybody here is pretty broken in terms of their character in very interesting ways and different to a lot of what we've seen. So there's just a lot of kind of lonely sad sacks.
Michelle, is that an apt description for your character?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say Rafi, first of all, is a delicious character to bring to life. Thank you. And she has a previously unrelated relationship, part of Picard's past. And she too struggles with some demons, but don't we all? Don't we all? Thank you.
Nobody else.
In real life doesn't at all, but.
Which means they're struggling more.
100%. But I think that's one of the things that's really so exciting and delicious about working on this project is that it's so layered. There's so much to jump into, and to be able to work with these people. And hello, what? Am I on this panel with that man? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Look, we'll be honest, this is a Sir Patrick Lovin, so if you're not buying in today, go, because we are here for him, okay? Yeah, exactly. I would tell you I shave my head for the man, but in fact I do it all the time. But I wanted to get, Evan, this is your first big American role. How does it feel stepping into the world of Trek?
Can you hear me? Yeah, sorry. I've watched Star Trek from such a young age, and then to be able to meet Patrick in person and then see and work with one of your idols on a daily basis, it's absolutely incredible. I wake up every day happy going to work, and I leave happy, and that's pretty much all I can say about it. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you, Patrick, and all of you, of course, but yeah, thank you. And the rest of you. Yeah.
Mr. Goldsman, I would like to get a sense from you. I mean, we're talking about new cast members, a new show. How do you see this? Would you compare and contrast this from Next Generation and the Picard we knew then?
Well, we pointedly wanted to not make a sequel to Next Gen. I think that tonally, it's a little bit of a hybrid. Obviously, it's, you will see, I hope, slower, more gentle, more lyrical. It is certainly more character-based. It also, takes on the same thing that the original series took on, that Next Gen took on, that Discovery takes on, which is hope for a future that is in many ways better than the world we live in today. Star Trek remains aspirational, and what we get to do, which sort of DS9 got to do a little bit, and then Discovery got to do, is to tell serialized stories. And in serialized storytelling, the characters can evolve in a way that makes it unique. So we think it's a new kind of Star Trek show, made by a lot of people who love the old kinds of Star Trek shows.
Well, that's kind of a perfect kind of Star Trek show, isn't it? Exactly. Harry, did you watch Star Trek growing up in the UK?
My best friend, who I used to go around to his house after school every night, his dad was a massive Trekkie and had every single episode on VHS. It was like 3 episodes per VHS, and sort of 200 of them on the shelf.
Wow.
With a catalogue, and would sort of star them and rate them. So that was my...
So that would be you answering my question with a, yes, I did.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, yes.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh, God. I would have to say the ones we're working on now.
Oh, perfect answer.
What is your friend's dad gonna star these at? Like, that's what I'm interested in.
I don't know, but maybe his collection is worth something now. On VHS, a starred sort of rated system, but he was called Alistair, and that's it.
Alex, you've talked a lot, you did it earlier today, you talked a lot about the ethos of Trek and what that means to you, and sending messages. You talked to us on the Discovery Channel panel about the world and the message it sends. Picard is the philosopher captain in many ways. Very different than William Shatner's Kirk, who was more of a cowboy in some ways. Very different than other captains. For you, how does that message come to life with this show in the times we live in, which, let's be brutally honest, could really use some optimistic look at the future, in my opinion.
I said it we talked this week, Dominic, and Picard represents the captain, the ideal captain, not just as a philosopher, but also as a human being, who thinks first and foremost about the human spirit and its consequences over time. And the choices that he makes are not choices he makes in a vacuum. He is the leader we all want, and boy, do we need that now more than ever. So I think what we all really feel and what we really talk about, and again, it's impossible to distinguish the character of Picard from Patrick himself, because they really are in many ways one in a beautiful, beautiful way. And so Michael's not kidding. Like when Patrick says, "I will always be able to tell you what I will or wouldn't say," the prism that he's using is also, every line that Picard says has to represent a philosophy and an ideal and an idealism. And yes, TNG reflected, I guess, a more innocent time. And it was always telling great stories, complicated stories, modern parables, but we live in a much, much more complicated and darker time now. And Trek at its best has always been a mirror that's reflected the world that we live in. So Picard, I think, in the best way, is the one who's still standing up for what matters. He's the one who's still standing up for the ideals that we believe in. Age has not changed his resolve. It's just changed the circumstances of his life. And this is being made, you have to understand, by people who love TNG. We're not seeking to reinvent it. We're not seeking to say ours is better, or we're doing the dark version of TNG. None of that is true. We're not doing any of that. But Picard has to soul search, and to soul search, you need a dark night of the soul in order to come out the other side lighter and brighter. And in order to make the world brighter, he has to face that part of himself. And he's still fighting for all the things he would have fought for in TNG. But because the circumstances of his life have changed, he doesn't have the same resources. And so he has to dig even deeper into himself in order to get there. And I think that's why he remains such an aspirational and amazing captain, because we all want to believe that in the darkest of times, the best part of ourselves would emerge, and that is Jean-Luc Picard and Patrick.
Yes. That was incredibly moving, and thank you so much. Isa and Santiago, give us a little bit of a sense, without any spoilers, about your characters and their relation to Jean-Luc. Without any spoilers. I know.
Tall order.
Yeah. I know him.
My God. I played Daj, and she is a young woman entering a very new and exciting chapter of her life. Yet, a horrible tragedy strikes in her life, and that is what sends her on a journey to find Picard, looking for answers and looking for help.
Santiago?
I play Chris Rios, Chris Rios, who is ex-Starfleet, and also someone with some inner demons, and something in his past has sort of created a hard shell around this man, and hence he is quite reluctant to help Picard when he meets him, and that's all I can say.
Well, you know, obviously we've had a lot of that's all I can say, and I've been trying to avoid spoilers, but I'm not going to, that's BS, let's do it. Sir Patrick Stewart has a gift for you, ladies and gentlemen of Hall 8. I think you're going to want to pay attention.
Yes. That was the reception we were hoping for. And would you like to see it again? Yeah! Okay. Before you cue it, I have a small request to make. If you can hold your enthusiasm until the very end of the trailer, it means that you might pick up a little bit more than you did the first time. Then, when it's over, you can riot. So, cue trailer, second time. All right, good. Thank you. You excel yourselves. That is music to our ears. However, in the terms of music, we have 3 other guests we would like you to meet. First of all, from the original Next Generation, Jonathan Del Arco. And Mr. Brent Spiner. Finally, yes, here she is, Jerry Ryan. Well, I'm done. Okay. Unless there's more in there. Over there.
Surprise!
I had no idea I was in this.
Oh, come on, guys. Look who showed up. You can do a lot better than that. Well, I have to ask. I'll start, Jerry. I mean, the crowd went crazy the first time we saw you. How the hell did this happen?
To be honest, over a year ago, sitting at the Hollywood Bowl, I was with Johnny actually, and one of the creators, who's a good friend of ours as well, and he, after about 4 glasses of champagne, decided that would be the time to bring it up. And said, here's what I'm thinking. And I thought, okay, that could be fun, but I really never thought anything was going to come of it. And then I kept, hearing it from other creators of the show over the course of the year, and it was mentioned again, and I was like, yeah, it's cool, but I still never really thought it was going to happen. And then cut to here we are. It's pretty surreal.
Pretty great. Jonathan?
I was also drunk at the Hollywood Bowl.
Alex, is there something you want to tell us about the Hollywood Bowl and Star Trek? There's a
She has
connection.
a box at the Hollywood Bowl, so we go. Yeah, my experience were bad. So the Borg share everything.
Collective,
It's
you know.
collective, no matter what. So yeah, that conversation began, and we were both like, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? Cut to the realization that it was going to happen, and that I'd have to have a life mask, which is basically poured cement onto your face. And I said to Jerry, I can't do it. I can't do the job. I can't do the life mask because I'm majorly claustrophobic. And
It's literally a cast of your head.
and she said, honey, take a pill and I'll drive you. And, and she stayed with me for 5 hours like a mama Borg. And made sure I was all right. It was 100% worth it because...
She was a rock star.
Because, well, we can't talk about the design of the makeup, but James McKinnon was the key head makeup artist and prosthetics in our show, just got nominated for an Emmy. I think he's here somewhere. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, yay! Emmy winner, Emmy nominee, people! So we did it. And it happened, and I still do, and then I didn't believe it until I was actually on set, to be honest. And oh my God, getting to work with Patrick again. That was worth the life mask.
Well, we all know there's someone else who we're very glad to see back with us. Brent, I mean, the crowd went crazy when they saw that you and Sir Patrick together. Please tell us how this came to be and what it's like.
Well, you know, I first heard that there was going to be this Star Trek Picard. I called the producers and I said, do you have anybody for the role of Picard yet? And they hung up on me. And then, but then I spoke to Patrick and he said, you know, there's a possibility. Would you think about coming on the show in some way? Appearing on the show, and I said, I don't think I could do that. And he started crying, and I just couldn't take it. So no, actually, you know, I spoke to the powers that be on this show. It's an incredible bunch of writers and producers. The possibility of standing next to Patrick on a set again was just more than I could say no to, and I had to consider the fans as well. To think that this was going to happen and there was a possibility that I might be there, there was no way I could refuse that. Of course I had to be there. So.
Sir Patrick, what is it like for you to have these old friends on stage, on camera with you again, now Picard?
I'm sorry, would you ask that question?
I said, what is it like to have these old friends back on camera with you again in Picard?
Well, you've got to get your laughing gear in place, that's for sure. Because we have more fun, I think, than should really be allowed in a very expensive series.
Can I just say that having observed it, the joy on Patrick's face on the days when we've had returning cast members, and in particular one whose name came up earlier, but I just want to mention is a part of Star Trek Picard, not only having directed 2 episodes, but it will be returning along with Marina Sirtis, and that is Jonathan Frakes. seeing, when Frakes was directing, seeing Patrick and Jonathan together, it just, I would go to the set just so I could see the smiles on their faces and the fun. I mean, Jonathan Frakes brings joy and light wherever he goes anyway, but just it seemed to me, Patrick, like you were just so filled with joy.
What is extraordinary about this experience is that, yes, everything that Michael has said does apply when I come face to face with Brent, with Jerry, with Jonathan, and it will very soon be with Marina and Jonathan Frakes as well. But we have here, sitting between me and Brent, a new team, a new crew, if you like, in the sense of being a cast in this show. And I am astonished and grateful for the speed with which this has become a team, a cohesive unit working together. I thought it might take the whole of the first season, and we still have about 3 episodes to go. And we are already cemented together, and that makes me happy and proud.
Yes! I'll be able to take questions from you guys. I see you. Where are you? You're over there. Wow, yes. Hello. How are you? Your name is?
Hi, my name is Jennifer.
Hey, Jennifer, and who's your question for?
My question is for all the cast and crew.
Oh, you get one. You got to choose one so everyone can ask a question.
Okay. First, it's an honor to have you here.
Yes.
I mean, thank you. My question really is directed at Mr. Stewart. What I'm wondering is, how have your children and grandchildren been influenced by your role as Jean-Luc Picard, Star Trek in general?
How have I been influenced?
How have your children and grandchildren been influenced by your
Oh,
role?
well, they were super influenced because when the murmur of Star Trek The Next Generation came up towards the end of 1986, I had to go to my children and say, what the heck is this? Because I was a stage actor and was only at home occasionally when they were very small. I would steal away from the theater after a matinee, rush home so that I could have a little bedtime with them before going back in and doing an evening performance. And often on a Saturday at about 6 o'clock, I saw them watching this thing on television with these guys in colored t-shirts. And that's all I needed about Star Trek. So they were the ones who first introduced me to Star Trek. And I'm so deliriously happy that now I have 4 grandchildren who have the same attitude to what we're doing. And Mason, my grandson, only this morning said, hey, I hear the trailer's going to be released. We're going to be able to see it. When can I see it? I want to be the first to see it. So that gave me great satisfaction.
Hello, sir.
My question is for Sir Patrick Stewart.
I feel a trend is starting.
My question is, stepping back into this role, there's probably memories from filming the Next Generation series that have resurfaced. I'm wondering if there were any moments that stand out for you or characteristics that you're going to bring with you coming back to this role in this new series. Thank you.
Well, there was one, and then maybe we should ask Brent and Jonathan and Jerry. But when we were shooting the last episode of the series, oh, here it goes. Jonathan Frakes and I had a scene in the captain's ready room. And he said, it's been an honor, Captain. And I was supposed to say, no, the honor has all been mine. And I couldn't say it. The emotion of saying goodbye to those 7 years was so intense. We tried again and again and again to get it on camera, and it was almost impossible. And I found as soon as we began talking in the writer's room, that powerful emotion came surging back, and it's still right here on this platform, and it's not going to go away.
We have time for 2 more questions. So, sir?
My question is also for Patrick.
I'm feeling that trend is going that way.
I'm ready for Andy. That shirt's
I
awesome.
just want to know what keeps you coming back to these iconic pop culture roles.
Well, he's really good at it. I'm just saying.
Well, roles? What roles were they? I loved the X-Men series. I mean, you cannot have too many franchises in a career.
Oh my God, you look amazing. Look at this outfit, yes.
It's actually for Alex Kurtzman. You spoke
Trend breaker.
of diversity in Star Trek. I was wondering how you intend to address the implications of this incredibly diverse crew on Discovery, their accomplishments and their actions being erased from the historical record.
That's a great question. While their actions have been erased from the historical record, there's the spirit of everything Trek lives on after them. And they're bringing that same thing into the future, a future that needs it very, very much. We're going to be actually leaning into that even more in season 3. So you will. We're not erasing what we've done. It's very important to us, I think, generally, that all Trek, as I said, carries a message. I had a very powerful experience with Dr. Mae Jemison, who was she was the first, African-American astronaut in space, and we were on a panel together in New York, I don't know, about 2 or 3 years ago, and I just fell in love with her immediately, and I said, okay, why astronaut, why? And she said, Uhura. I saw Uhura when I was a kid. So I thought, oh my God, if we can inspire more Uhuras, then that's our job right now, and then someone else is going to do it in 50 years, and hopefully 50 more. So our commitment to that kind of diversity is not going anywhere anytime soon.
If your commitment to Star Trek isn't going anywhere soon, you can go visit the Star Trek booth on the convention floor. And there's also, up on at the Michael J. Wolff Fine Arts Gallery up the street here in the Gaslamp, there's the Jean-Luc Picard The First Duty exhibit. We'll see costumes and all sorts of things from both Next Gen and the new series. And with that, Hall H, please get on your hands for the cast and creators of Star Trek.